So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to keep the ball position nice and simple to help you hit every club in the bag as well as possible. Okay, so when we watch the best players in the world, watch them set up to the ball, put those lovely, effortless swings on the ball, and we see them hit nice accurate shots like that, good distances, and I think generally we watch it and we're a bit in awe, aren't we? We think, wow, it's amazing how hard they work on their golf swings. But it's actually the fundamentals that they work probably most hard on to make sure that they don't have to make extra compensations. And ball position is really such a key factor. So when we talk about hitting good golf shots, and particularly as we use the different clubs in the bag, I think it can be a little bit confusing for golfers because we're kind of told nowadays about, right, we need to hit down on the ball with certain clubs, we need to hit up on the ball with certain clubs, we need to sweep certain shots. Well, what if by moving the ball position around, you were able to create all the correct delivery conditions with the club just from setup? And you're then able to make the same motion or similar motion and deliver the club in the correct way. So what we need to understand is that the golf swing is a circle around your body. I've spoken about this in videos in the past, obviously a bit bigger than this. Now, because you stand to the side of the golf ball, the circle is on an angle. So at some point the club is moving up and round you, then down. It reaches its low point and then back up. So anytime you swing, the club is moving up at some point, down at some point, but it has a low point. And what we are looking to do is get the low point in the correct area of your golf swing. So as a general rule, when you set up, your weight will be fairly 50-50. So your low point will be fairly opposite your sternum. And this is with every single club. So as you swing, the weight moves into your trail side. And as you shift down, as your weight and pressure moves forward, it actually moves the lowest point of your golf swing forward. So let's say, for argument's sake, my low point was very opposite my Adidas logo there. Okay? So anytime the ball position is behind the low point, that's going to cause the club to travel down and hit down on the ball. Anytime the ball position is forward of that, the club's going to travel up. So hopefully you can see there, as long as we move the same, the different ball positions can affect how the club's delivered. So when we look at short clubs, so I've got, say, pitching wedge, 7-iron, 4-iron and driver here. But I would say 7-iron down. I would love to see the golf ball, for most golfers, fairly central. Okay? Now, I think when we talk about central to where? So for most golfers, and I get a lot of comments about this, they talk about where in my feet should the ball position be. So I'm going to use an example for you. If I said 7-iron to pitching wedge was fairly central, most golfers will say, right, opposite the centre of my feet. Now, because you can see my feet here, very much my toes are slightly turned out. Now, if I were to turn my lead foot out more, all of a sudden, that ball position looks further back. It's not. It's just relative to my toe line it is. If I do the same with the trail foot, now it looks further forward. So if you're somebody who does feet, try and do your heels if you can. Now, I don't personally do my feet. I do relative to my body. So I would say anything central is opposite my sternum. Anything forward is more towards my lead shoulder. So I would say 7-iron to pitching wedge. Generally, I have opposite my sternum. If you're going to get it wrong, though, never further back, unless you're hitting under a tree or something like that, never further back than your sternum. If anything, make an error of being slightly forward, and that'll encourage a good weight shift. But if we said ball in the middle, opposite my sternum, I know my weight's going to move forward, and that will give me that nice crisp strike, good straight shot, no distances on there, but that will be round about 160 yards for me. So if you're watching, you're probably thinking, well, that's okay, I can hit my 7, 8, 9 pitch and wedges. Well, it's as the clubs get a little bit longer And what I'm going to talk about for long irons, pretty much the same for hybrids and fairway woods. So if we said the ball position with 7-iron down was very much opposite my sternum, and that's the clubs where we want the club travelling down the most, because the low point will be most forward of the ball. So what we're looking for with a 4-iron, for example, is the club to be moving more shallow, still down. So what we'd need to do is have that ball position nearer to the low point. And you could even have it in line with the low point, but there's a danger of just catching the ground a little early. So whereas ball position with 7-iron was in the centre, with 4-iron I might go an inch more forward, maybe an inch and a half. I then know that as I swing, my weight shifts forward, I'm going to collect ball and then ground, so my low point will be slightly after the ball. So what I will do, in fact, I'll tell you a great way of showing this. So the shot I've just hit with 7-iron there, if we look on TrackMan, my low point is 3.4 inches ahead of the golf ball, and therefore the angle of attack the club was moving down 4 degrees. So if I move the ball maybe an inch forward, inch and a half forward, we'd hope if I do everything the same, that I should see my low point maybe a couple of inches after and the angle of attack less down, and that'll work because of the less loft on 4-iron. So my ball position is slightly further forward. Let's try and make the same swing. Strike felt good. And we can see there almost on call, 2.4 inches ahead. Angle of attack now less down, so only minus 2.4 degrees, so 2.4 degrees down. But we can see there that little change of ball position has changed my angle of attack and allowed me to utilise the different loft on the 4-iron. So then as we work into fairway woods and hybrids, I would keep that very much the same. Now, with driver, however, a lot of golfers are told about hitting up on the ball. And I agree, if you're going to maximise distance, that will help. But the problem I see for a lot of golfers is they talk about, if we go into width of feet, they talk about getting the ball opposite the left heel, for example. So if I stand here, left heel, the ball position's probably just around my armpit, which is fine. Now, if I go wider stance and stay left heel, we can now see that that ball is outside my shoulder. Now again, the little challenge with that is the further forward the ball is, the path of the club, the arc of the club is going to start working more left, so more out to in, and that's why a lot of golfers struggle when they get the ball forward and they try to hit up lots and lots. They start swinging more out to in, maybe getting pulls, slices. Yes, you might be nodding your head along now saying, do you know what? That's me. So what I would do with driver, however wide I stand, I would get the ball opposite my armpit. So you can see for the width I stand maybe just inside my heel. And then again, I know now the low point should be slightly behind. So let's put swinging it with driver and see. And we can see there, 7.7 inches behind, the club moving 6 degrees up. And yes, the swing itself might be a little bit different, but by getting that ball position now forward of where my low point would be, the club naturally starts to work up. And honestly, I see so many golfers when they get in these ball position out of position, having to make extra compensatory movements within their swing and really struggling for consistency. And if you listen to the best players in the world, particularly when they've been on a little off period and they're playing well again, it's very often that they're not talking about, I've worked on shallow in the club and rotating my body more. Very often it's one of the fundamentals that have switched. Maybe the grip's moved, the ball position's got out of position, the posture's off. So from today's video, if you can keep that ball position never further back than your sternum, never further forward than your lead armpit, like I said, the angle of attack for the club will be good. Because it's a relatively small area, the path of the club isn't going to move around too much. And then if you're consistent fairly consistent with how you deliver the club. Also, the club face won't be massively different. So it might not be a dead straight shot you hit every time. It might be a fade, it might be a draw. But you should start seeing more and more consistency because you're delivering the club more consistently. And if you can keep that ball position simple, it makes everything nice and simple. Right guys, so you could see there, never get the ball further back than the centre or opposite your sternum, never get the ball further forward than your armpit. And the beauty is, because that hitting area is quite small, even if you get a little bit out of position, it shouldn't massively affect the way you deliver the club. Therefore, your angle of attack shouldn't be too bad. The path and the club face should be decent. And just generally, it should make you a more consistent golfer. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's Friday fix. If you have, like it and share it. Comment below and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you have enjoyed the video and you don't currently subscribe, I would love it if you'd hit the subscribe button below. Remember to ring the notification bell, then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.